Yo, what is up, it's your boy Jay Johnny back here in Perim's Underworld. Hey, how you doing today, you beautiful people? Today we're talking about the 7 most moist Fluidmorphers that there are. I have blown off this video for a little bit too long, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. And to start off, we have the rules. We're only taking into consideration the viability in a pure Fluidmorpher Marillion deck, so there's going to be no combos, no combo enablers, aka, I'm sorry, Lambda Nicole didn't make the cut. On top of that, all creatures have water, so I won't mention it every single time. We might mention it a couple times at the start, but I mean, like, they're all going to have water, so I'm not going to keep mentioning it, you know what I mean? So let's go ahead and jump into this. We start off with Nunkworn, which is really weird. Nunkworn has 3 stats at 60 plus, 70 power, 70 wisdom, and 60 E. The 60 E is really what matters there, because all of his attacks count as fire and water attacks, so I mean, yeah, you know, like you're not really going to necessarily need power or wisdom checks. I mean, you're almost always going to be able to just go off of, you know, doing damage. Yeah, I don't know, nothing really else to sell to that one. But then it also has self-revival, which is a very powerful tool. If you guys haven't seen, you know, me playing the multi-tribal decks, like the VODs of me playing multi-tribal decks, I mean, it is very powerful to be able to control how many music counters are on Nunkworn itself, and if you're able to actually use music in general to control the amount of music counters on him, I mean, he can die like 20 times in one game realistically. Like it's not impossible for that kind of scenario to happen. So, I love Nunkworn. Very, 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 very powerful Fluidmorpher. However, there's still 6 more that are stronger than him, if not more. Let's go ahead and go to number 6, which is Drawer Neek. I hate and love this card so much. Let's start off with its stats. All of its stats are mediocre. It has extremely mediocre stats. It's not very good in the stat department, okay? But where it makes up for that is the ability allows it to essentially reflect damage back to the opponent. Now, you still take full damage, but you're also able to reflect damage back. So let's say Jornik gets hit once. If you have 5 instances of his ability active, the opponent's going to take 50 for you taking like 15 to 10, 15, you know, like a massive damage output coming from the ability. Now, you do have to get him online, but if you get him online, he's able to essentially take out clean KOs pretty easily. So very, 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 very powerful effect. And I guess he also has water. Like I said, he doesn't have stats. He doesn't have a stat line. His stat line doesn't exist. It's going to be a common theme throughout this is that their stat lines just don't exist, okay? I think the only one that actually has mentionable stats for the most part is Nunkworn. And I mean, Jornik definitely does not have stats worth mentioning. Now we're going to pause for our partners, our community shops, Bulbastore.com and Hard Rock Gaming Studios LLC. Both of them are great places to get cards or to pick up some merchandise because Hard Rock Gaming Studios LLC is the currently the only licensed partner to sell Chaotic licensed merch. I personally wear a Chaotic t-shirt every time I go to locals. I personally, you know, use Hard Rock Gaming Studios LLC for all of my Chaotic merchandise needs. Also, subscribe to Apricot a Lot, our longtime collaborator. If you guys haven't been paying attention, every single week we upload a series called the Chaotic Odyssey to Apricot a Lot's channel. Very great guy, makes great content on top of like the chaotic content that we do together. So very, very great guy. Highly recommend him. And now I'm gonna cut to an ad read.
I'm an ambassador for the new indie TCG Wild Hearts. With multiple successful Kickstarters for the card game and one for the board game, 2026 is shaping up to be a good year for them. While the earlier Kickstarters provided access to some exclusive arts and foil versions, you'll still be able to obtain non-foil versions in the future print runs, so you're not missing anything. Not only that, but they have a mod on Tabletopia to start playing the game and recently added a deck builder to their website. Join the Discord link to the link tree to get started on your Wild Hearts journey today.
And we're going to continue on. Next, we got Imswa. We got 2 stats at 60 plus, 60 courage, and 70 wisdom. You can tell, I'm really having a pull. You know, like, it's... Fluidmorphers do not have the best stats. However, Imswa does have the ability to remove elements from your opponent's creatures. I guess, technically, you can also make your own creatures lose elements, too. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you could. Losing elements is probably one of the most powerful effects in the game. You have creatures like Lord Von Blute, Servant of Ani, who remove elements entirely. It's a very powerful effect to just have because it just turns off the opponent's offensive tools. It could be argued that some of these slots can be bounced around, moved around from top to bottom. Some of these slots can be like switched around. I think that I think the last two are probably pretty set in stone, but yeah, Imswo could probably be bounced around from like 5. It could be anywhere from 7 to 4, to be honest. Like maybe 3. Next up we have Cerulean. It has one stat at 60 plus, which is 75 wisdom, and it can negate music without using any music cards. You can pay 4 music to dispel target non-Marillion music, or you can pay 5 to play a music card in your opponent's discard pile of any tribe without paying its music cost. So if you're able to make the game go on long enough, you can reuse all of the music that they tried to use that you ended up negating. I mean, that's a very powerful effect. I mean, the only downside is Cerulean itself doesn't have very good stats. I believe its average E is 25 or 35. It's one of the two. Cannot remember off the top of my head. Very, very, very lackluster stats from the Cerulean. But the ability to just steal music, essentially, very powerful effect. I have to put it on the list. I mean, it negates music, and it has the ability to steal music. It just had to go on the list. It makes it to where you have 12 musics, and has to be on there. Next up, we have Expend. One stat is 60 plus, which is 65 wisdom. Again, like I said, a lot of these stats are just gonna be, lackluster. Vixpen has the ability to make music, so essentially cost 2 music cards because they cast the first music, and then if they want that music to resolve, they have to cast a secondary music so that music actually resolves. And it essentially costs nothing on Vixpen's part other than just simply getting 1 to 2 music counters on there. Because realistically speaking, most musics cost 1. Very few cost 2. I mean, you're going to be able to, easily. It's one attack. You just have to get 1 water attack through. And if you're playing a Fluidmorpher deck, that's not going to be very difficult to do. Essentially doubling the cost of every card that your opponent wants to play. Very, very, very powerful effect. I feel like a lot of players will undervalue that, but just having to factor in, okay, well, now my Melody and Mirage, to make it to where it resolves, I have to pop off my Song and Shelter prematurely or something. Just having the ability to force your opponent to overcommit for no negative downside to you at all. They just have to overcommit. Very, very powerful effect coming from Vixpen. Next up, we have Makadin, which I feel like this one and the next one are going to be the two most, the 2 and 1 are definitely just locked in their positions. Makadin has the ability to do targeted heals for 2 music. It heals 5 target. But if you get it to 4 music, you can heal 25 to all creatures you control. Now, Makadin itself doesn't have very good stats. Honestly, none of them even worth mentioning. So it can't benefit extremely well from its own heal. However, having that heal as a tool to assist your other creatures, you could, any minions or any other Marillions that you're using, if you have any crawls, just having that tool to enable you to be able to have the heal to sustain those creatures in their battles. I mean, it's just a very powerful effect. One that can never be undervalued, especially when it's not costing you any music cards itself. You're just using music counters. Very, very powerful effect this Makadin has. And now we're going to skip to the last one. You love him. It's Felfour of the Deep. One stat at 60 plus, which is 60 wisdom, but that's not why you play him. You can use 1 music counter to relocate an opposing creature to an unoccupied space. That's just a very powerful effect. You can essentially move your opponent's entire board around and choose fit in the late game. You can just be like, okay, well, I don't want to fight this creature. I want to bring your support unit into the front, and I want to be able to make it to where you're forced into combat with, a very, very powerful effect to relocate your opponent's entire board, essentially. On top of that, its secondary ability also removes Swift and makes it to where creatures have to enter combat. That's... Not only are you relocating the board entirely to how you want to see fit, you're also saying you can't skip over into backline. You can't attack into my backline. Even if you have KO'd a creature, now your attacker, it's forced to essentially go into creatures that an offensive creature that I have deemed that you will be fighting this game. Very, very powerful. Felfour is honestly probably one of the strongest cards in existence. No exaggeration, no hyperbole. I would say that Felfour is probably one of the objectively strongest creatures in existence, just with just how powerful that effect is to remove Swift, also enforcing relocations. It's just Fel 4 is insane. Fel 4 is absolutely insane. If I were to make a top 7 creatures, if Fel 4 wasn't on that list, he would just barely miss the cut. He is one of the strongest creatures in all of Chaotic, and he got his highlight for a reason. Now, on to the conclusion. Fluidmorphers have varied and strong control effects that allow them to take center stage in a support role, essentially saying, okay, well, I may not have the offensive stats to continue applying a lot of pressure, but I do have the ability to make it to where my non-fluid morphers can fight and actually keep going. Very powerful effect. Very powerful effects from all of the fluid morphers. On top of that, lackluster stats mean they can struggle to hit the point where they actually turn online. Like I said, a lot of them effects, they only really get good when they've stacked up enough times. If you haven't stacked up enough times, honestly, you may be struggling to actually be able to win fights with them. They're not built for hard. They're not built for quick combat. They're built for definitely dragging games out with cards like Curiosity Tunnels. Very, very powerful grouping of cards. Honestly, probably the highest rate. Probably the easiest ones to rank, because the ones that are very, very good are just that objectively powerful above like all the others. Like, I mean, like that. I think this is going to be the one list where somebody can look at it and be like, I agree with all 7 cards on the list. I maybe disagree with the placings, but I agree with all 7 cards on the list. Whereas the other lists, like there was some debate about it. But I feel like with this list, I feel like it's kind of pretty objective. Like there's no really debate that, Fel 4 is number 1. There's no debate that Vixman should be on here. Since we removed the idea of combo with like Scouts Modular, obviously that means that Lambnicol takes a massive hit in its playability. So I think this is I think Fluid Morphers are kind of insane. I put off this video a little bit longer than I should have, but like now that I've done it, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel like I really did anything informative. That being said, though, guys, I have been Jay Johnny. This has been Perim's Underworld. Stay tuned for more chaotic tips, tricks, and news, because I'll be back later with a lot more to show you. That being said, I'll see you in chaotic. So for now, let's port to Perim.